One Reaction with Levy, and welcome back to the Daily One Reaction. We had a big day of sports yesterday, and we got to start off with the biggest headline. It's Kevin Durant. It's the Brooklyn Nets winning 114-108. Kevin Durant's stat line was unbelievable. He had 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. First player ever to do that. I mean, he played the whole entire game, didn't sit once. Unbelievable. You had James Harden returning. We can get into that later. He didn't look great. But you know what? He had 8 assists, and he could have had 10. He was passing the ball well. Joe Harris was still cold. I thought Landry Shamet gave a lot for them. Landry Shamet and Jeff Green were the two guys. Of course, Jeff Green's the role player we're going to talk about because he had 27, but I thought Shamet did a really nice job. He had 9 points. It was a really good game from Green, Griffin, KD, and of course Kevin Durant taking this game, and you got to question what Coach Bud was doing at the end of the game. Why was he leaving Kevin Durant so open? A lot of head-scratching decisions. If you're Milwaukee in this game, who are you going to at the end of the game? I mean, they have Kevin Durant, but who are you going to? And it felt like this game this was the game Milwaukee was like, okay, we can really put ourselves over the top. Limited James Harden, just one star basically for the Nets, but the Nets came out, showed up. I predicted this yesterday. I thought they were going to come out. Kevin Durant, I mean, him and LeBron, I mean, you can talk about LeBron all you want, but Kevin Durant is making a big case and why he's probably the second best player of this generation. I think you talk about if he somehow wins this title, then he's got 3. Yes, they're a little questioned, but of course LeBron James are questioned with his 3. So it'd be 3 versus 4 in terms of LeBron. So I think there's a lot of questioning. I think there's Kevin Durant is he wins this title. He's going to make him a case for himself to be in the top 10 of all time. He's that good. He can score from anywhere. He played terrific defensively against inside. He was like unbelievable. One of the best performances I've ever seen, and he was just automatic, especially that Harden pass to Durant when he hit that 3 with 5 on the shot clock. That was unbelievable. So let's move on. That was the Nets-Bucks Game 6 Thursday night. Huge game for Milwaukee. Can they come home, cover at home? That's going to be very interesting. Islanders-Lightning. Lightning won 4-2. This was the game they needed. We're not going to go too much into this because we got more to talk about. So now let's turn to tonight's matchups. This is the big thing. We had the Hawks, 76ers. Embiid is the key. He is likely to play. He's really not on the injury report right now. Of course, Danny Green's out. I think Philly wins this game. They should have won Game 4. I think they win Game 5. But the two interesting things that kind of changed the whole playoffs. Clippers, Jazz. Kawhi Leonard ruled out of Game 5, uncertain for the rest of the series with the knee injury. That is huge news. I think the Jazz were dead in the water if Kawhi was playing today. I mean, we don't know the status of Conley yet, but he's a game-time decision. But that's just Kawhi out makes Paul George the number 1 scorer. Do we trust him in those situations? Now it becomes a Paul George, Donovan Mitchell matchup versus in Utah. I think Utah has a big advantage right now in this Game 5. Kawhi Leonard out. They lost the first 2 games in Utah. It's going to be very tough for a non-Kawhi Leonard Los Angeles Clippers team to win Game 5. They had all the momentum, and I thought they were probably going to win Game 5 if Kawhi's playing and Conley was out. But now, Kawhi out, it's going to be, you need Morris, Jackson, Batum. 2 of those 3 guys to really step up and Paul George to have 30+. It's going to be very tough. I think Mitchell has a big game tonight. He's getting healthier and healthier. I think the role players step up. Clarkson, Ingles, Bogdanovich. And I like Utah to win tonight by 10+. The line's at 7, so you know how Vegas feels. So that's one interesting piece. Then the second one, Chris Paul, out indefinitely due to COVID protocols. Will he be back? And that depends on how long this Clippers-Jazz series goes. I mean, if you're the Suns, you want to root for this to go to 7, get as much rest as you can for Chris Paul to see when he comes back. He could be out Game 1 and 2. I mean, it depends on the matchup, but it comes down to injuries right now. You talk about, this is crazy. 3 best teams right now in the West. Clippers, Jazz, Suns all have injury problems. Clippers, of course, with Kawhi, Jazz with Conley, and Mitchell, who got hurt too. And then you have the Suns with this COVID protocol thing with Chris Paul. He's out. The Suns are I mean, you saw what they were without Chris Paul last year. They're a fringe playoff team. Maybe they're a 7th seed, and you're playing a Utah team on the road. Let's say Utah wins the series. It's going to be very tough. You probably go down 0-2. Paul's out for games 1 and 2, comes back game 3. So this really affects the way the series. And if you're a Utah Jazz fan sitting home tonight, this is very good news. Kawhi Leonard out, Chris Paul, and then if you get by Kawhi Leonard, non-Kawhi Leonard Clippers, let's say in 7 or 6 or 7, and then you host Phoenix a couple days after that. No Chris Paul for a couple games. Then you're all of a sudden up 0-2. It kind of shakes this West up. And right now, I just think the whole playoffs comes down to injuries. Every team basically left has an injury problem, which is crazy to me. Philadelphia is the other team. Joel Embiid's status is huge. And I think if he's limited, it's got to be Ben Simmons. He did not perform well in Game 5. He's now at home. Ben Simmons needs to really step up because Curry did as much as he could. The role players did. Shake Milton gave that spark that they needed. Korkmaz stepped up. I think it's about Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris really taking over the game if there is no Joel Embiid. And that also hurts the rim protection because Trae Young will get the floaters going. It's a big news. It will be very key. You'll see it early to see if Joel Embiid is good. You got to rest him if you're Doc Rivers. That's going to be the key tonight. And then Utah. It's just crazy to me how these NBA playoffs have just gone up all. We don't know what's going to happen. I thought a week ago the Nets were the run-on favorites. Yesterday I thought the Bucks were the favorites to come out of that Nets-Bucks series, and now all of a sudden the Nets are right back. So we just don't know with these injuries. I thought the Clippers, after their Game 4 win, were cruising through and going to face the Phoenix Suns. Now the Jazz have the advantage. I mean, just crazy stuff going on in the NBA. Tomorrow, we got the U.S. Open starting, and of course, the news that has come out today. The news of Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. DeChambeau refusing to play with him. Now they're in separate groups. Crazy stuff going on. The course is Torrey Pines. It's going to be a very interesting battle at Torrey Pines. I mean, you got John Rahm coming off the COVID scare. You got Dustin Johnson. Can he make a mark? Bryson DeChambeau in the Koepka battle. Spieth, can he get back to what he's been? Justin Thomas, can he emerge? And then you got guys like Xander Schauffele, Tony Finau. What can they do here in San Diego? It's going to be a very interesting tournament. Of course, Rory McIlroy, he's tough. Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler. These guys coming in that have been really good. It's going to be a fun tournament in San Diego, so that's coming up this weekend. Of course, the Euros are still continuing. So, one reaction with Levy. Crazy news here on the Daily One Reaction.